Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session of Thursday Thoughts. This Thursday, we have a really exciting topic in store for you. Is tax really taxing? I can tell you that as a CA student, this is a subject that I used to find very vast and very complex, and I had no idea how to go about it initially. But after learning from all the faculties that are associated with my life, I have figured out a way to manage around tax, and I want the same for you guys. So this Thursday, we have a specialist in tax, practicing chartered accountant. She's a partner at KNDC Associates and LLP. And you know what? She's also secured All India 42 rank in the intermediate exams of the CA course. She has been working in Coimbatore for 2 years with Lakshmi Machine Works. And for now, she's associated with KVC Academy since the past 3 years. She's also been my faculty for CA final in the subject of direct taxes. And a little more about her. She has been associated with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Mangalore as a faculty for the orientation course as well as the MCS course. And she's also a member of the Toastmasters Club, and she's an excellent orator and a motivator. So I'm sure all of you guys are going to have amazing fun whilst watching her session. And surely she's not going to make tax that taxing for you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Deepika, for that wonderful introduction. First and foremost, a good evening, everyone. As we enter into another phase of lockdown here, it is best that we use the time to upgrade our skills. So let me directly begin by asking or answering this question in the poster. Is tax really taxing? Well, if you ask me, it is for two categories of people. First one is your taxpayer. And the second one, can anyone guess? You can also type in the chat box. Yes? Can anyone guess who is the second category of people who have issues always? Who find tax very taxing? Well, I'm talking about the students because they have to study. So now taxpayers, it is normal and genuine. They feel the pinch of taxation. Why? Because they have to pay the taxes, obviously. So whatever is their hard-earned money, they have to part with it, a good percentage, and obviously the pinch is felt there. So whatever they give there, it is for the economic development, but still the pinch is felt. Now just imagine you're getting a pocket money of 1,000 rupees. And they say that you have to now give away 20% or rather 200 rupees to the government. You would have planned for the entire 1,000 rupees and now you have to replan things for 800. So you have to sacrifice or compromise on certain things, and it is a pinch felt. So the best way to go about and making sure that the pinch is felt least would be to minimize the pinch of the taxpayer by tax planning. Yes. One thing said in Arthashastra by Kautilya is that extremes need to be avoided. So by extremes, meaning on one side we have your nil taxation or no taxation, and on the other side we have heavy taxation. Both of it has to be avoided for the economy to grow and prosper. Yes, so that has been advised as far as taxpayers are concerned. Now students, you guys have no option but to read. Read what? The Act, the rules, amendments, recent case studies, circulars, notifications, and so on and on. How do we ease the pinch? Well, today we are going to start the session with the 7 rules, 7 sets of rules that can help you ease this pinch. So let me begin. Before I move on, I need you all to answer a small question. Let's see if I can do that here. Yes, please do answer this. What is the name of Saif Ali Khan and Kareena Kapoor's child? Come on.
Time out.
You can even answer in the poll. or the chat box. Please answer in the chat box. Okay, so time. You guys have already guessed it. Let me ask you another question. Who is the first chartered accountant to present the budget as a finance minister?
Manmohan Singh, even Allah. Because I
Request everyone to please mute yourself. Now, yes, it is Piyush Goyal, but look at the number of answers I got for Taimur and for Piyush Goyal. It varies a lot. So basically, the first point that I'll be sharing with you all is on your interest. What drives you here is your interest. Okay, so we are interested about these current affairs and everything, so we know everything about it in detail. But how much do we know about our subject becomes the question, and the driving force here becomes this interest. Now, we are not born with interest in all the subjects, and it is natural. Some of us might be interested in taxation, some of us might be interested in law, others might be interested in any other subject. But as far as your interest is concerned, can it be built? Yes, it can be built. We as students will have to build interest in every subject. How can we do that? How can we kindle our interest? Now, for doing that, it is important to know a little background, a little interesting bit about every subject. Let me give you a small example here. As far as income tax are concerned, there are small interesting stuffs behind it. I'll just share that also here. So the first point that I'm talking about or discussing here is to kindle the interest. Yes. Now, I'll be sharing, give me a couple of minutes and I'll share certain interesting bits about income tax. So income tax is not a new or a recent phenomenon in India. It has been existing from the times of kings. Earlier, when the kings had the taxation system, they divided the taxpayer into two. So there were traders and there were farmers. Traders were asked to pay their taxation in terms of coins, could be your gold coins or silver coins. And farmers were asked to pay in kind, based on the crop or percentage of crop they grew. So that is how the taxation system worked. Could you please link up any Bollywood movie with this taxation philosophy, if you've come across? Yes, Lagan. So Lagan had been one movie which, this entire thing was also shown there. Raid was search. So yes, Lagan was there. Now, from the times of kings, the act moved on, and we had another one in 1922, which formed the basis for the current act that we are reading, the Income Tax Act of 1961. So in this act, every year there has been a budget which has come, and every year after the budget, the amendments which have taken place. So what happens here is the Ministry of Finance, they have an in-depth statistical research done on this budget. They do their extensive research, they take up inputs from various sections of the society and finally compile for us the budget. Once the budget is finalized and it goes into printing, a ceremony called as Halwa ceremony is performed. This is based on the belief that if you start anything new, have a sweet beginning. So Halwa ceremony is performed a year before the budget goes into printing. Here what happens is the finance minister would distribute the halwa to everyone who has been involved in the preparation of budget. From this day till the date the budget is actually presented in the parliament, for this entire period, everyone or every staff who has been involved in the preparation of budget, they will be moved to a containment zone. So this is done to ensure there is total confidentiality of the budget. So that is how we get certain interesting inputs about a subject and build our interest around it. Because finally, whatever is your passion, that will only lead you to your purpose. So the first thing which I would like to share today is have your interest in the subject. Even if you don't have it, build your interest slowly, slowly. Get to know the interesting bits and move towards that direction. Now moving on to the second part, we all know that CA comes up with articleship. Okay, so your internship or your articleship, even that teaches you. Certain things are better understood only if it is practically done. For example, if it is swimming, no matter how much you study about it, no matter how many videos you watch, how many books you study about it, unless you don't take that plunge, you don't get into the water, you will never be able to learn swimming. Same thing happens with even income tax. So until and unless we don't practically apply what we have studied in theory, our knowledge does not get complete. And articleship gives us a wonderful opportunity to do that. It gives us a time where we can apply whatever we have studied. So here what happens is, normally in CA articleship, we come across various forms, 3CB, 3CD, 3CA, and it also has a lot of sections in it. So I would advise you all to please look up the sections in the BEAR Act. Okay, not just let the software do the work. No, of course, the software is there to help you and aid you. But also make sure that you are having these sections looked up and referred to. That is very important again. So that would be my second point. Also, whenever you come across any particular decision or any particular query solved by your principal, do question them. Why is it happening? Why is it not happening? What is your take on it? And they'll be more than happy to help you out with it, I'm sure. So second one would be actually learn in the articleship and seal your knowledge. Because whatever you learn here, it would be sealed for life. Believe me on that. The next one I would like to share is to have the understanding of logic behind every section. Now, has anyone heard this sentence that if a black cat crosses the road, it is considered to be a sign of bad luck?
Yes.
Yes, you've come across that term, maybe your grandparents or your parents or your neighbors. Someone would have mentioned it, black cats, if they are crossing the roads, it's a bad sign. Now, let me tell you how this statement actually came into existence. So what happened was, in ancient times, people used to travel in the night by cart. So they were animal-driven carts, and they used to sometimes travel in the night in the forest where they could confront or come before any of the members of the cat family. Now they are gifted with these glowing eyes. So when the animals had seen these glowing eyes, they would get scared. So the traveling party would halt for some time, let the animal calm itself, and then they would continue their journey forward. This was the real story. Now, when these travelers went and said or shared their experiences with others, others would only have listened to it half, understood only quarter of it, but spoken double by adding all possible spices. So that's where the story got diluted. The actual reasoning got diluted. And what we are left today is with a sentence that black cat crossing the road is a sign of bad luck. So this is what happens when the logic of things is left behind. Similarly, every income tax section over time has been applied only based on a logic. It is important we understand the logic and answer why behind every section. What will happen is we will understand the provision better and also appreciate the lawmaker's viewpoint. I'll give you a few examples in context of income tax here. So we all understand it is important to have zero pollution or good climatic changes and everything. So in order to promote people to switch to electric cars, there was one section introduced. It is 80EEB. So they said that if anyone is having any interest on loan on electric vehicles, that would be given as a deduction of 1,50,000. So also, senior citizens' plight is very well understood by the Income Tax Act. Senior citizens are the ones who have earned in their youth years, paid taxes regularly, and finally they have come to the retirement stage. Now they can have one biggest source of income, which is interest, and one big expense. Can anyone say what will be the biggest expense that the senior citizen might face?
Medical.
Yes?
Healthcare.
Very good. Medical expenses, health expenses, yes. So both these aspects have been considered in the Act. So normally if you see for interest, normal person, the normal limit of deduction is only 10,000. But for senior citizen, it is upgraded to 50,000. Different sections deals about it. And as far as your health is concerned, normal limit is 25,000 for health insurance. But the same for medical expense and health insurance becomes 50,000 as far as senior citizens are concerned. So logic behind every section, if we understand, it makes our job a lot more easier. Yes? That would be my next point. The next very important point is to link the provisions. Now, we have to understand that income tax is the subject which has to be understood in totality. It is not going to be that in the exam you're going to get questions from only one chapter. One problem could touch upon aspects of almost all the chapters. So many chapters would come. So we have to link all the provisions and study. I'll give you an example for it. Like we come across house property. Income from house property is taken care in its own chapter, where you have 24, 25, 26 and other sections talking about it. But if you see, deductions are also there in your ATC, where the principal is given deduction, ATEE, ATEEA, where the interest is given deductions. So all these have to be studied in totality. Okay, so it's very important we link. Not just this, as far as your house property is concerned, there are 2 points even in clubbing mentioned, both 27 and your 50s. So there also it is mentioned. So it is important we study it by linking all these provisions in totality. Yes, that becomes very important here. So the next point would be to be updated about this topic. Now, income tax always has remained in the news. And one piece of advice which I normally give to all my students is to always be updated about it. And this is one question which I will repeatedly ask all my students again. How many of you have the habit of reading financial newspaper? Please answer it honestly. I'm not talking about your page 3 of Times of India. I'm talking about a financial newspaper, something like the Economic Times or your Business Line, stuff like that. Yes, how many of you do read it? Even in reading in the app is okay. Yes, anyone? No answers means no one, right? Yes, so income tax is one thing that we have to update ourselves on. See, as a student of finance, it is very important. We are updated about the latest trends and happenings in the finance subject. Unless we don't read these papers and we don't come across these articles and terminologies, we will not be able to gain that extra advantage. You know, a CA student and an MBA student, the major difference is that they are updated on the latest trend. Despite CA students having an in-depth knowledge, it becomes very difficult for them to have that edge. Why? Because they don't have the latest information or news. So that's why, to add that extra edge to your personality, always make sure you are updated about the latest happenings. The next one I would stress on would be to assemble your strengths. Now, this one I'm purely talking in terms of exam preparation point of view. We all have been blessed with the usage of calculator. So even in the exam, you are allowed to use calculator. Make sure that you use the same model of calculator when you're practicing, also when you're solving papers, when you're solving sums during practice or during exam. Make sure you have the same model of calculator so that the placement of numbers and symbols don't change. Also, please know your calculator very well. Please understand the importance of memory, etc. The second thing which I would stress on would be on presentation. How do we write the answer? How do we present the answer? Now, apart from MCQs, there are two kinds of questions that can be asked in income tax. One would be a theory-based question and one would be a problem-based computation. As far as theory-based questions are concerned, first you would write the provision, the relevant provision, and then answer whatever you have to answer to the question. And as far as computation-based problems are concerned, first you would show the main answer followed by a detailed working note and assumptions. Now, as far as your working notes are concerned, please make sure you link it up with the main answer too. It is very important you link the answer as well. Another thing which we usually miss out on, suppose your question has about 10 points. One of them you have not used. Say it is not taxable, that's why you have not used that in your, one of the points you have not used in your problem. Please mention that in the notes also, stating that so and so is not taxable, hence no effect of the same has been given. Convey your thoughts properly to the one who is correcting it. You know that it is not to be taxed. Convey that fact by notes. Okay? So all that is very important, only then it happens. The next thing is about your amendments and case studies. Again, very important. Whatever is a relevant amendment for your assessment year, also whatever is a recent case studies applicable for your assessment year, please make sure you know it all without leaving anything. It is very important that you know all of these and you have to read it like a sacred book. No option there with regard to your amendments and recent case studies. Next thing which you have to work on is your own handwritten notes. So again, I would stress on this. It's very important to have your own handwritten notes. No matter how many notes you have from different people, please have this habit of having your own handwritten notes. Whenever you're preparing for your exam, simultaneously make down, it could be by way of chart, flow charts, it could be only notes, bullets, anything you want to highlight, anything that you want to remember before the exam. All of this would matter. One day before the exam, this is the only thing that is going to come in handy to you. So have the habit of having your own notes and keep revising them as well. The last point that I would stress would be on practice, practice, and practice. Now, income tax, even if you don't know one particular section, there is a huge possibility the same thing comes in the exam and our whole problem goes wrong. So suppose we don't consider that in the gross total income, your tax calculation, total income, everything will go for a toss. How do we overcome that? The only way you can do is practice as many problems as you can. Yes, have this habit of practicing. Your institute material has come up with so many problems. Use that. Get the materials from others. Use it. Just practice. The more you practice, the better you become. So it is very simple formula for success. You need to have practice and concentration. And after that, add more practice and more concentration. Practice is going to definitely build your confidence and empower you. So that is how you will practice. So these are the 7 points that I would stress on. Let me just summarize it up for you again. So the first one we saw was kindle the interest. It is very important to have that interest built in the subject first. Your internship or articleship teaches you. True. Link the provisions. So when you are having your second study done, it is not possible in the first study. When you are having a second study done of the subject, please make sure you link the provisions too. Understand the why behind every section. Why are we doing it? Why is the lawmaker thinking from this angle? Answer those ones as well. Always be updated with the latest trending topic on the income tax. Assemble your strength, work on your strengths. And of course, have the extra practice done. So this is precisely how you're going to kill tax, ace the subject, and make sure you excel in it. Now, there is one thing about a concept. Lastly, I would want to share a small concept with you all. It is called as reticular articulation. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example here. Suppose you decide on buying a car, say a Honda City car, and you decide on buying a white colored Honda City car. So the next time, don't count as lockdown phase, okay? So the next time when you go into the roads, you will come across many Honda City's car and all of them would be white. Has that happened to you? You decide on buying a two-wheeler and same thing of a different color, same color, you would see so many in the road. Yes, it happens with us. This is called as reticular articulation. What we think materializes. So when you are preparing for your exam, when you're going and appearing for your exam, make sure you also practice this. Have the positive thought. Keep saying to yourself that I will be able to solve the problem. I will be able to complete the problem in time. I will be able to complete my entire paper on time. I will be able to excel with flying colors. With all these thoughts, you will materialize only what you have thought. Yes? And obviously the result would be having a lot of rank holders here present. So yes, with this, I would open up the floor for any kinds of Q&A. So any questions and queries you have, please feel free to ask now. If anyone has any query? You will have to unmute and ask yourself.
Guys, you can even leave your questions in the chat box of KVC Academy or Rashmi ma'am, and she will answer them.
Okay, I have one question here. They're asking if there is any technique to remember case laws. Now, case law, certain famous case laws like we have in your capital gain, Manjula Jesha. Over the time, whenever you do a problem, over the time, whenever you do any problem, have the habit of writing that particular case law whenever you're even solving it. So when you're having your practice done, make sure you are practicing with the proper format, always, even when you're practicing, have a proper format, have a working note. In the notes, also mention that case which you want to quote every time. Say Manjula Jesha. So in the notes, at least mention that name, Manjula Jesha. Repeatedly over the time, you will now every time easily connect that. So whenever there is indexation thing, Manjula Jesha will be appearing here. Second thing, in the exam, it is okay. Sometimes it happens that we might not be able to remember the whole case name. So in that case, if you even remember, suppose you're not able to cite up the entire case, even you're able to cite up only one part of it, it is okay. Say, for example, as per the case decided in the Supreme Court. Okay, so it's okay even if you've forgotten the name, it is completely okay. At least that much if you can remember, it will be helpful for us. One second, I have a couple more questions. Case studies in particular. Okay, every case study also, I said you, they'll have, if you're finding it very difficult to understand the case study, please do a little more of search on that and understand its background, understand the logic. Why is it so happened? What was the, both the parties, what were they putting across their points for? If you understand that and then you understand the judgment, it becomes much more easier. So I would always say, please try and understand what was the case for, a little bit of a background behind the case. Any tips to remember PGBP chapter? Okay. PGBP is a huge chapter, and the only way you can remember is, as I said, you do more of problems. take one section at a time, do the problem relating to that particular section. Say, for example, if you're taking depreciation, 32, do as many problems as you can solve in that. Then, after doing section-wise problem, do comprehensive problems. So, problems which involve sections, so many sections or major sections of PGPP, solve those ones. And lastly, do problems which has elements of PGBP along with other heads. So your computation of total income to have along with that. I have one more query here. Is section number important? Okay. Section number, it is, if you can quote the section number, it obviously gives you that edge. You know, the one who is correcting, they will have the feeling, yes, they know about it. But if you don't know the section number, no problem at all. Only thing is, please don't give the wrong section number. Yes, that is bad. Giving a wrong section number is the worst thing to be done. Giving no section number is completely okay. But giving a wrong section number is a no-no at all. Okay, I have one more section. How do we restart studying after having our exams cancelled? Okay, so one thing is, if you have been studying for the May attempt and now that your exams have been merged with November, the one good thing is your assessment year is the same. So you can still use up the same details, start from the scratch, start in the first chapter, start afresh, okay? And have a very routine and disciplined timetable for your studies. Only that is going to help you a long way. Use the time, the lockdown time especially, you don't have to go to office, articleship, use this time. Okay, how do you remember so many sections and subsections? It is only when you, as I said, when you do the problem, if you have the habit of simultaneously writing the section number, only then you can remember. Like in the main problem, if you're writing depreciation, less depreciation, have the habit of writing less depreciation under section 32. That's all. Repeatedly doing it will automatically get this, thing imbibed in you. Depreciation is 32. In income tax, usually there are multiple things to keep in mind. How to remember every point. I usually make mistakes in total income problems. How to reduce mistake and be more accurate. Practice. Keep practicing and keep practicing. See, every problem in income tax will be different. You can't expect, especially work on the amendment area. So 2 things that you can do is work on the amendment problems. Make sure that whatever is the amendment, you know it completely. And second thing, you practice computation, full computation problems, many of them. When I say practice, I mean work out. It is not just glancing through or glimpsing through the problem. No, don't read through the problem. Work it out. That is more important. How to remember the entire syllabus the day before. Any strategy to jot down all the provisions to make it handy. Drawing charts is cringy at times. Okay. I personally favor charts. Okay, it is easier for people to remember. That's what I feel. So at the time when you're preparing your notes, if you work a little bit more, on having your points written down, jotted down, or drawing your charts, one day before the exam, you have to only glance through that. The understanding becomes much more easier. Since it is your own handwritten notes, you will understand what are you using this for. It becomes much more easier. So when you, one day before, make sure your notes is the only thing that is going to come in handy to you. Also, the problems which you feel have major adjustments, have amendments, keep that also in mind. Keep that also highlighted along with your notes to make sure that it gives you a complete study one day before the exam. Because timing will be a constraint there. If we get stuck in the middle of a problem, will they give marks? It depends how badly are you stuck. Honestly, it depends. See, if the problem has segments or portion, and if you're able to answer at least some part of the segment, they'll give you marks. But if the main problem, the total income is asked or something like taxability is asked, you will have to work out the entire thing. Only then you get the marks. That to correctly. So as far as segment is concerned, suppose there are 3 things and you're able to answer 2 of them, you get marks to that. But otherwise, no. Okay, I have one more question here. How to concentrate? Okay, so I would say this first thing, whenever you're studying, please make sure that you don't have any distractions or they are at the minimum. The biggest distraction that we have today is cell phones. Please remember, cell phone is for your convenience. Mobiles are for our convenience, so that we can contact people whenever we want, not vice versa. That others, it's okay. Even if they drop a message, later you contact them, it is okay. Yeah. So it becomes very important that we understand why are we using mobile phones. Social media, everything can wait. Keep your phones away from you. You will automatically get bored and you'll start studying. Yes, any other question? How do we manage time in exams since we have GST also? Okay. As far as your GST is concerned, please divide your time properly. You're going to have 2 separate answer sheets. So you can, whatever you know, answer that first. MCQ, if you're comfortable with that, answer that first, based on your comfort level. Before even appearing for the exams, try and write a few mock tests, like, revision test or mock test. That will give you a lot more confidence on how to go about answering, how to manage the time. So the more and more you write for the mock test, proper 3-hour test, okay, that will help you. Chapters like appeals, penalty, model tax conventions, interpretation of tax treaty needs to recall stuffs. Any technique to go about that. Okay, so if you have all these like appeals, penalty and everything, again, I would say have your notes properly mentioned. Like in penalties chapter, for different things, you have different penalties and remembering them becomes very tough. So until unless you have not made your notes thoroughly, it will not help you. Even for appeals, please remember the sequence, the order, make it in the form of a story. That is what I always advise. Like, for example, you have your search and seizure. You have raid story which you can attach to it. So anything that you can form as a story, it helps you remember it, retain it. That is what I would say for that. Would you suggest studying tax along with one other subject in a day or rather do only tax? I always advise to have at least 2 subjects done during the day, especially if you are studying for the whole day. Take one subject of your interest and take one subject which you are not very confident on. Okay, so keep switching between the 2 and work around. Have your timetable done. Stick to your timetable. That is more important. Have the discipline. Compared to GST and income tax, which is easy, both. It's all on your interest. Yes, any other question? Is it important to study theory? Okay. Yes, as far as income tax is concerned, yes, you need to know the provisions. That is, what is your theory is there. You need to understand the theory. Even there would be theory questions where you will have to write down the provisions also. Not literally the entire thing, but your understanding of the provision needs to be mentioned. Only then you will be able to answer the questions properly. So yes, you need to know the theory. Theory, I'm not saying you to by heart the sections. No, not at all. Understand what is being said in those sections. That is more than enough. how to manage time in the exam. That's what I said. First thing, before you even write or appear in your main exams, have mock test written, okay? So that would give you your 3-hour test written. Sometimes many people conduct mock test, and also you have easily mock test available even in the institute website. You can download those papers and write those 3-hour tests. So there you will get an idea as to how much time, which area is required. Manage it accordingly. You might be fast in one particular area, but slow in another area. So you're fast in solving problems, but slow when it comes to writing. So improve on writing speed. So depending upon what is your strength, build on that, and whatever is your weakness, make sure you overcome even that. Can you describe what you went through one day before your final tax paper and how you coped with it? See, the major thing which happens, no matter whether it is final or intermediate, one day before the exam, the biggest problem which we feel as students would be, how do I study the entire thing in one day? We hardly have, say, about 10 hours or 12 hours of proper study time, leaving the fact that we need to sleep, eat, rest, everything. Only 10 hours we get. So that time you will realize your notes come in very handy. Yes, all your notes, please make sure you go through them. Your notes will be very useful for you. You will understand its importance only in that one day, because you have only 10 hours to study the entire subject. That's where you need them. So that is where you realize. Second thing, keep yourself calm, keep yourself cool, have confidence on yourself, have faith, stay positive. That will also help you a long way. Especially one day before the exam, yes. Okay, I've been asked here to share the tax marks of inter. Honestly, I don't remember how much I scored, but I remember I got more than 60. I don't remember the exact 60 how much, but somewhere in 60s I got in my tax. I don't even remember my marks exactly in the inter. I have given my inter more than 10 years back. So honestly, I'm sorry, I don't remember that. Yes, any other query? Anyone has any other doubt, any other question? I'll have to check my mark sheet to know about it. Where can we find extra sums to solve? First and foremost, your institute study material, a wonderful resource. Please solve every particular sum possible in that. Second thing is that you had your material coming up. If you have joined any coaching academy, they would also give you problems. Solve that. Third thing, there are revision test papers also in the institute website. Take that, download that, solve that. Whenever you solve any last year paper, suggested answers or RTP, revision test paper, please make sure the answers are pertaining to your relevant assessment year. Otherwise, the whole thing will go wrong. Tax labs keeps changing every assessment year. So please make sure it is pertaining to your particular relevant assessment year. Okay. Yes, I'm asked which rank did I score. I scored 42nd rank in my intermediate. Did you give both groups of inter at a time? Yes, I gave both the groups together. And I would also advise you to do that. If possible, how much ever possible, please give both the groups together. You get the aggregate advantage. Will it matter the fact that 2 attempt students are writing together? No, it will not make a difference. Neither your question papers are going to get tougher, nor the correction is going to get any lenient or any stricter. No, it will be the same. According to you, what is tax and taxing? Okay, tax is kind of a liability which every taxpayer has to pay, and something which is collected so that the government can use these funds for the development of the economy. Infrastructure could be anything. So we need growth in and around us. So for that, tax is collected. And what is taxing? It is the effect of tax which happens on the taxpayer. That is taxing. It becomes tough for them. They feel the pinch. Why do we pay professional tax? This is relevant to your state tax. Okay, it's the income tax is going to the central government. Professional tax is a state tax. They are very different context. What is my suggestion for students who are writing exams in November attempt? Should they write both? Yes, if you can write both, I would advise please write both, since you have a lot of time now. The ones who are preparing for May, if you have been now moved to November, use the time, write both the groups together. You get the aggregate advantage. But please make sure it is in your comfort level. If you're comfortable writing only one group, stick to that. But if you can write both the groups together, please do write. Only then you get a rank. If you have any grammar mistakes, will they deduct marks for that? Well, no, technically income tax, you don't need to write much. You just have to remember the provisions and mention the facts about the provisions. Even when you're solving problem, grammar issues won't be taken much. But please, when you're writing about answers, make sure it is in complete proper English. You don't have grammar mistakes. Try and avoid those things. Even if the marks are not deducted, it gives a very negative impression to the one who is correcting your paper. Avoid that. What about amendment? Please complete your question. Amendments, I told you, it is very important. Please make sure you read all the amendments which are applicable for your assessment year without even leaving a single one. Amendments are like the golden rules that you have to remember. Like how you have golden rules in accounts, amendments and recent case studies are to tax. New amendment for November. You'll be notified in your institute website. You'll be notified with all the amendments that are applicable to you. Till what date? Since we're having so many extensions already now. Okay, is it possible to have a similar revamp of direct taxes like what happened with indirect tax, GST? See, there is talk about direct tax code, which might come in future. It is still in papers. They're just talking about it. But whatever said and done, the basis is going to be the same. So you need to know about it. This will be the basis. Yes. Any other question? So all the best who are preparing. Please make sure you guys, please make sure you guys are having a wonderful time while preparing also. Stay positive, stay safe. Deepika?
Yes, I'm here. Can I take over?
Yes,
Are all the questions done?
Yes. If anyone have any other question, please let me know. Or if I skipped anyone's question, if it went up, please let me know.
Okay. I think we're good to go.
I think I've covered the questions, Deepika.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing those 7 tips of tax. I'm sure it will help all the students kill tax. And listening to you again was a delight. It reminded me of my CA final days. Thank you so much, ma'am. For those of you who have more questions and who have more queries or have missed out on asking questions today, you can leave the questions on the YouTube comment section and ma'am would be glad to answer them all. Thank you for your time, ma'am. Thank you everyone for attending this wonderful session, and I will see you next Thursday sharp at 6 p.m. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity given here. Thank you.
Bye.